Hello everybody, welcome back to I Dream of Indie. This is Ole Gamer Joe here with another review for you today. We're looking at Raji, an ancient epic on the PlayStation 4, but the game was also released onto the Steam PC platform, the Epic Games Store, and the Microsoft Xbox One. It was released as of October 15th of 2020, developed by Nodding Head Games, and published by Super.com. The game is currently priced at $24.99. Raji actually puts a pretty strong emphasis on its storytelling. You have a conflict here between the demons and the gods. Thousands of years ago, they were battling each other and the gods came out on top, but now the demons out of nowhere have arisen again and attacked the gods, and they really weren't expecting it. As people are killed and children are snatched from their homes, a young girl named Raji is chosen to be a hero of destiny and take care of this demon invasion. While at its core, this is just a tale of good versus evil, I think the way it's presented in Raji is really well done, and it's very well written as well, inspired by actual Indian mythologies, so I think it's pretty cool. When it comes to gameplay though, Raji is definitely an action platformer. I would best describe it as a cross between the classic God of War games and Prince of Persia, and it works pretty well together. You'll find yourself, of course, making jumps from pole to pole, hanging from ledges, and carefully making your way across to other areas, and eventually getting into combat scenarios. They do mention that Raji is a circus performer in this game, and she certainly feels like it. The combat is pretty fluid for the most part, maybe a little bit less responsive than I would have liked, but I did overall enjoy it. What you have here is a fusion of different weapons. You can switch them on the fly as you collect more and more, and you can upgrade each weapon as well. Raji starts out with a lightning staff, which she can use to bash away at different enemies, and she can also even jump off walls and perform other different attacks like that. As you stun your enemies, eventually the circle prompt will appear over their head where you can perform an execution, and this is kind of where I was reminded of the God of War series, but don't worry, you're not pulling heads off or anything. Raji is a fairly tame game. Because it is so easy to switch weapons on the fly too, the combat is quite exciting at times. You do eventually get a bow and arrow of sorts as well, and you can hit enemies from above. I didn't like using that as much as I did my main staff, but it was pretty cool to gain more and more abilities. It helped keep the combat fresh. Again, not quite as responsive as I would have liked. I think my button presses maybe didn't always line up with my attacks, but I did really enjoy it, and it's helped by that skill tree which allows you to unlock more and more. Outside of the rather fun combat system though, you do have some puzzles to solve along the way. You might be rotating statues and trying to line them up correctly, or rotating pictures. Most of these puzzles involve rotating. They're diversions, but they're still pretty fun. On the whole though, the platforming feels good, the combat is fun despite not being as responsive as I would have liked, and the puzzles can entertain and switch up the gameplay from time to time. As far as the graphical presentation of this game, I really just think Raji is stunning. It looks so beautiful in motion. The animations are fantastic on your characters. All of the enemies look unique from one another. They were perhaps the most uninteresting part of this game, but the world really looks great. It's brimming with so much history. The colors are vibrant. It runs pretty good on the PlayStation 4 for the most part. I did run into a few frame rate drops here or there, so it's not able to maintain 60 frames per second, but regardless, it wasn't game breaking, and I do think that the various settings look really great. Beautiful grass in some of the areas, a lot of history again in the statues and different things that you'll see. I think Raji is really a fantastic piece of art. So they spared no expense on the production values of the graphics, but how is the sound? Actually, it's very nice too. It has a nice historical vibe to it, very fitting for the setting that you find yourself in. No memorable tracks, no upbeat rocking tunes or anything like that. Laid back, mystical, but nice sounding. It definitely fits the aesthetic of the game quite well, and all of the sound effects are pretty well implemented too. As you dodge and slash your way around different combat scenarios, it all sounds great, and there's some nice voice acting throughout the game as well to tell the story. It's very effective. I didn't have any complaints about any of the actors that I came across. I highly recommend Raji. It's not a long experience, unfortunately, but I didn't necessarily mind that myself. You can probably do everything again in 5 to 6 hours if you're trying, but I really enjoyed exploring ancient India. I thought the combat was entertaining. I do wish it were more responsive, like I mentioned, but still, it wasn't a game breaker by any means whatsoever. The game looks just beautiful. It sounds great. I recommend Raji if you're a fan of this genre.
Do not test me!
So will you be checking out Raji, an ancient epic? Let us know in the comments section below, and if you have enjoyed our video coverage today, consider hitting that subscribe button. It helps us to bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming. There's a ton of other ways that you can support I Dream of Indie right down in the description box below. Consider becoming a channel member, hitting up our merchandise store to help represent us, or maybe even joining into the Discord and chatting along. However you end up supporting us though, thank you so much.